Welcome to Zelda Universe TV, it's Zelda time! Hey guys, I'm your host Bastian. This is This Week in Zelda News. Speaking of Zelda time, as I mentioned in a previous video, someone left a comment saying that they thought that phrase was getting kind of repetitive, old, stale, other kinds of adjectives, and so I'm going to leave it up to you guys to decide. If you think I should continue saying it, go ahead and like yes in my comment down below. If you think it's time to maybe retire it, go ahead and like no. Whichever gets the most votes will be the deciding factor. But anyway, let's get to those stories. Truth be told, not a whole lot going on in Zelda news this week, just three things to talk about. The first thing is that a fan who clearly is a fan of both Zelda and Halo Reach went ahead and created a mod that allows you to play through the landscape of the Forest Temple within Halo Reach. Personally, I've never played Halo Reach or any of the Halo games, so I can't really attest to what it plays like. My understanding is that the game is still structured the same way as a Halo game. The battles are still first-person perspective shooter style, so it doesn't play like a Zelda game, but it's simply playing in the Forest Temple dungeon within the Halo Reach graphics. So if you happen to be somebody who's into both of those franchises, this might be a lot of fun for you. And then speaking of recreations in other games, Minecraft. We've already talked about, a couple months ago actually, about a fan or some fans who went ahead and recreated all of Ocarina of Time within Minecraft to let you sort of wander through that landscape. Recently, they've been adding more and more features to that, for instance, quests that you can actually do and things along those lines. But this story is about somebody who decided to go ahead and recreate Skyloft, that first hub island in Skyward Sword. So they recreated all of Skyloft within Minecraft. And besides just Skyloft itself, they went ahead and recreated some of the more prominent other sky islands in Skyward Sword. Again, I hate to say I've never actually played Minecraft. It looks pretty sweet. Maybe someday it will be on my list of things to do, so I can't really attest to how accurate or not accurate it is, but looking at the video, I mean, that looks pretty much like Skyloft. It almost looks one-to-one. I'm not sure if it actually is one-to-one or not. So really good job, and my understanding is there are a lot of Zelda fans who are also fans of Minecraft, so this might be up your alley. And then our final story, I know, already, is Mr. Eiji Aonuma had an interview with IGN recently via email, and some of the questions IGN posed to him got some interesting responses. First of all, they were asking him things like, do you really feel like Zelda has always been a very simplistic-oriented game, not a lot of complex controls or anything like that. Skyward Sword felt like a step up from that. Is that the aim of Zelda, to get more complex? And he assured them that no, that's not his intention, that Zelda at its heart should be as simple to play as possible so that anybody can get into it. Now, he didn't say that he plans on making it simpler, just he doesn't see the relevance or the importance of making very complex control schemes or anything. They also pointed out to him that the story in Skyward Sword seemed a lot more prominent than in most Zelda games, and they asked him, is that something that was intentional, and will future Zelda games have a more prominent story? This seems to not annoy him, but worry him, I think, a little bit, because his response was that Zelda games should not have complicated stories, and in fact the story should never be more prominent than any other aspect of the game, that they strive for a balance between game controls and story and so on. So he said that he thought that if it seemed that way to them, then that's a red flag, and maybe he needs to consider that when making the next Zelda game, to make sure that there's more of a balance. IGN thankfully assured him that it didn't seem that much more prominent and it's not something that he should worry about. And I think a lot of us as Zelda fans we wouldn't mind if the story was a little bit more prominent, but that seems to be completely contrary to Mr. Aonuma's wishes. He really doesn't want the story to have any more weight than game controls, because a Zelda game at its heart is mostly about that gameplay experience, not really about the story. So that's it for this week in Zelda news. Hopefully we'll have a much more eventful week next week, on which I can report. Do be sure to check out this week's Games Like Zelda video over on my channel. This week I talk about one of the games that I think a lot of Zelda fans have played, and a lot of Zelda fans have called a Zelda clone. It might not actually be a Zelda clone per se, but it definitely plays a lot like a Zelda game. See you next week, guys. Bye. So that's it for this week in Zelda news. Hopefully we'll have a much more eventful week next week, on which I can report. I don't think I did that right at all.